Fish only have a memory of 7 seconds. And mermaids only have a memory of 7 years. I had been with René for 7 years. And in the 8th year, he completely forgot about me. He fell in love with my cousin. I turned around and found a stranded mermaid on the beach. And took it home to raise. When René saw it, his eyes were red and he asked me why I didn't want him. The stranded little mermaid hid behind me in fear, but whispered in my ear in a friendly and dangerous way. "Sister, can you feed 2 fish?" Look, he can't even finish his sentences. He must be guilty. He must be feeling unbalanced because he sees that Mr. Sue has a new person around him. Oh, a mistress is a mistress. She makes herself sound so fresh and refined. Although she has forgotten about it, she hasn't broken up. You interfered with your sister's relationship and still have the nerve to appear in front of her. You keep saying we are sorry for you, but you haven't taken any real action, kneeling down to apologize or anything. If you ask me, Mr. Sue is really too kind. If someone interferes with my relationship, I will cut off their hands and feet and let them sleep in the same bed every day, eating, drinking, defecating, and urinating on it. Don't they like to be together? Susan's face turned pale, little by little, amid the sarcastic remarks around her. She raised her head in panic, trying to find a face that recognized her in the crowd, but she didn't find one. Even the people she had tried so hard to win over in the past looked like they didn't know her at this moment. How could this happen? She couldn't understand why the trick she had used for more than 20 years, which worked at home, school, and other places, didn't work here. Even her parents and relatives who had always stood by her side avoided her eyes. At the end of this farce, René apologized and escorted Susan away. Before leaving, he looked at me with a complicated expression. "Tell me what happened." After arriving home, it was time for me to interrogate Fu Jingyu. Although things seemed to be as he said, René himself could not defend himself. But René was a cautious person and would not act rashly when he just met Fu Jingyu. As for the reason for fighting for me, it was even more funny. He had forgotten me long ago. Fu Jingyu looked at me aggrievedly, his eyes were red, and even his cheeks were a little red. Only then did I realize that his expression was a little distracted. I leaned in and sniffed. "When did you drink?" "A little bit." Fu Jingyu said, "He said you don't like me, and said you lied to me." I laughed. "Isn't this true? Aren't you the one who pestered me?" Fu Jingyu put his cheek close to my palm obediently. A pair of eyes looked at me lovingly. I told him, I said I like you, and it's me who pestered you. In an instant, his face changed again, and his tears turned into pearls, and fell on my palm. He smelled it, he knew I wasn't really with you, and I didn't smell like you, and he laughed at me. When orcs mate with their partners, they will carry the smell of each other. It's like a mark. Humans can't smell this smell. Fu Jingyu and I never did it from beginning to end, and naturally he didn't smell like me. Fu Jingyu suddenly leaned over and hugged me tightly. "Will sister abandon me? Are you ready to abandon me? Are you not willing to give me a name? Why do others have it? Why don't I have it? Even such a weak mermaid has it. How can I be inferior to him? Why can he occupy your life for so many years? Let everyone know about your relationship." Fu Jingyu's eyes were bloodshot. He smelled the scent of René at that time. It was very faint. It was almost gone. But he still wanted to bite him to death. Not to mention that René said those words to him without knowing whether to live or die. Fu Jingyu lay on my shoulder and cried loudly. Pearls fell to the ground. "Sister, I smell your scent on him. Why don't I have it? Am I not beautiful enough? Don't you have desire for me?" I felt his hot and wet kiss on my neck. I couldn't help but shrink. I reached out and grabbed his waist-length hair and pulled it back hard. His face was completely exposed to my sight. In the scarlet eyes, there is undisguised desire. Deeper, there are even more shameful emotions. I said, "Fu Jingyu, you didn't tell me everything." I put my finger into his mouth and pulled his fangs. The voice was fierce. I said, "Grind your teeth flat, and lie to me again." Fu Jingyu's Adam's apple rolled, and he laughed. Extremely crazy. He gently raised his tongue and licked my fingertips. "Since you know I'm in danger, do you still dare to put your finger in my mouth?" Sister, you must know that I can't bear to bite off your beautiful fingers. Sister, give me some sense of security. I got goosebumps all over my body from Fujinyu's licking. There was a cold feeling of being entangled by a snake. The air around me seemed to be damp and sticky. He leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Whatever you want to know, I will tell you. I won't lie to you. I can't bear it. Sister, my tooth is in your hand. If I lie, you can pull it out." I swallowed. His eyes are so beautiful. His voice is so nice. The clothes peeled off slowly. I couldn't help it. It's not my fault. In a trance, I met his aggressive eyes. Our eyes met. I felt that he just looked at me, and it seemed like he had a great time. The obedient and lovely person in the past no longer existed. It was like a wolf stripped of sheep's skin. I felt that I had offended someone who could not be shaken off. But I thought about it. The 7 years of mermaid is a period of forgetting. It's really not easy to shake off. I knew it earlier. I wouldn't have been obsessed with beauty if I had known it earlier. I know that orcs are good in that aspect. But I didn't expect Fujinyu to be so good. It's been 3 days. I haven't worked for 3 days. I have tried all kinds of postures. My eyes closed and opened again. The whole room was filled with the shameful smell of our fight. Fujinyu's fishtail was still wrapped around me. I moved my body. I thought I really couldn't play with him anymore. Fujinyu told me the truth. He and Rennie did have a personal grudge. Rennie was in trouble in the water because of him. Mermaids have always lived in groups in the ocean, but Fujinyu was the only one who traveled alone. He had known Sutong for a long time at a cocktail party at sea. He knew that it would take a lot of money to form a partnership with humans. Fujinyu has never lacked money. He has been domineering in the ocean for many years, with countless gold, silver, and jewelry. In order to get ashore with more gold, he packed up all his gold, silver, and jewelry along the way and brought them ashore. But there was another property, which was in a mermaid habitat. That was his mother's hometown. It happened to be Rennie's hometown. He wanted to take his property away, but they wouldn't let him, and they wanted to drive Fujinyu away. There was no other way. He could only beat them all up. When he was leaving, he bumped into Rennie, who was coming back. Fujinyu looked carefully. What a guy. Isn't he the current boyfriend of my future wife? He was just worried about not finding someone to beat him up, but you came to my door. He knocked him out without any hesitation and threw him away. When Fujinyu said this, he asked me again and again. Is my sister not going to feel sorry for my brother and unhappy if I do this? Will my sister feel sorry for me? Huh? His lower body hit me again and again, smashing my words into pieces. I couldn't say a word. I took the cards Fujinyu gave me and looked at them carefully. In other words, you have your own money, but you have been eating and living at my place, and you let me support you for so long? Fujinyu said innocently, I like my sister to support me. I gave my sister all my money. Now I am still penniless and have to rely on you. As he leaned against me, I saw his increasingly fiery eyes. He moved away in an instant. Why are you in heat all day long? Fujinyu saw me avoiding him and said aggrievedly, this is a sign of liking you. I like you as much as I like you. I covered his mouth with my hand. His clear eyes still looked at me very innocently. God knows how many dirty words I heard in those 3 days came out of his mouth. Suddenly, I felt my palms getting wet and the itch began to spread. My face turned black and I quickly withdrew my hands. Why don't you cover me? Rennie didn't know what was wrong with him. He only knew that when he saw Sutong stand up for Fujinyu without hesitation, his heart ached. But his memory was still blank. He should not love her anymore, right? So many people were telling him how much he loved her, but he couldn't feel it. Rennie also naturally thought that when he was in the period of forgetfulness and was rescued by Su Zhan and saw her, he had already started a new life. But the subconscious pain in his heart made him confused. So when Su Zhan asked him to go to Sutong to apologize for her, he nodded without hesitation. When the door opened, Rennie saw not Sutong, but Fujinyu, even though he knew they were together, and he was Sutong's current supporter. When he actually saw him appear in Sutong's house, Rennie's heart still rose with anger that had nowhere to vent. especially when he smelled the strong smell on Fu Jingyu. It was Su Tong's. This realization almost made him lose his mind. Didn't they all say that they loved each other in the past? Why could she find someone else in such a short time? As soon as I went downstairs, I heard a sound coming from the door. "What are you doing?" Fu Jingyu turned around and ran to my side, grabbing my hand and shaking it aggrievedly. "Sister, look at him, he came to your house and was arrogant, and he was just mean to me." Rennie stood at the entrance, staring at me and Fu Jingyu. "What are you doing here?" Rennie had just regained some of his sanity, but he was stunned when he saw the layout of the house. The atmosphere of life between the two of them was very strong here. Fu Jingyu was also a mermaid who liked to secretly show her possessiveness. The living room was full of things that he and I had in common. If Rennie still had memories, he would have discovered that his footprints in this house had been completely erased and replaced by another person. Rennie did have no memories, but he went to the archives to get his memories. In the past, he always thought that the loss of memories meant that the past was buried and everything started all over again. In this case, it didn't make much difference whether he read the past memories or not. Reading them might just add to his troubles. But after the banquet that day, he couldn't help reading them. 2/3 of the memories that he couldn't finish reading in 3 days and 3 nights were about him and Su Tong. The self in the memory loved her so much. So many feelings remained in the body. But Rennie didn't remember it at all. He could only rely on the memories he left in the past to feel them again. Why change it? I was stunned. I didn't expect Rennie to say this. I said as a matter of course, changed people. Shouldn't it be changed? This instantly made Rennie speechless. Because in the relationship between him and me, he was the first to let go. I just started the next one after the end of one relationship. Rennie looked at the layout of the house. It should have been full of his and Su Tong's things. But now, it has become someone else's. Looking at Fu Jingyu's appearance, you can tell that he was well raised. He acted like a spoiled child and complained, as if he was sure that Su Tong would stand on his side. Why? All this should have been his. Rennie suddenly regretted it. He shouldn't be so sure that everything in the past had nothing to do with him. Then, Rennie suddenly thought of something. His face became paler. But can he turn back? He has already made a contract with Su Jin. You said he and Su Jin have made a contract? I was a little shocked. There is a contract between orcs and humans. Once signed, the orcs will protect humans for life and never abandon them. Otherwise, they will be backlashed by the contract. However, this contract does not have much impact on humans. People can still abandon them after having sex. In order to protect the rights of orcs, interstellar law has established the Orc Contract Protection Law. Once humans betray, the contract must be forcibly terminated, but only in serious cases will they be imprisoned. In comparison, the orcs' losses in the contract are not ordinary. However, in this era, few orcs have mentioned the contract. No one is willing to hand themselves over to others, and no one can guarantee that they will not change their hearts. If the two regret it after several years, it will be very troublesome to terminate the contract. I didn't expect Rennie to have a contract with Su Jin. He actually liked her so much. When I saw Rennie again, I was a little surprised. Because he looked very embarrassed. Like an abandoned dog that was thrown away by someone, curled up next to my car. When he saw me, his eyes lit up. He wanted to get closer to me, but I took a few steps back. Touching my indifferent expression, his eyes dimmed instantly. Su Jin doesn't want me anymore. What does it have to do with me? I wondered. Do I look like a sucker? I was a little glad that the little mermaid didn't come today, otherwise there would be trouble again. Rennie pursed his lips. I saw my memory. I'm sorry. I interrupted. No need to say sorry. It's all over. A trace of hurt flashed in Rennie's eyes. Rennie has been pestering me these days. I thought of the things that the private detective sent me. A trace of coldness flashed in my eyes. I took Rennie back. When Fu Jingyu saw it, the smile he raised disappeared. Sister, why did you bring him back? Are you worried that you would be bored at home? Are you happy? I replied with a smile. I let Rennie live back in his original room. At night, Fujinyu tossed me like crazy. While crying, he asked me why I brought him back.